Hello everyone. Welcome to our weekly video series on the Daily Betterment channel, where we share personal development knowledge through great books. There's a common saying that our lives will be changed by the people we meet and the books we read. However, with the endless number of books in the world, our time is limited. Therefore, choosing the right book for yourself is important. One of Daily Betterment's book selection criteria is to choose books that are frequently cited or mentioned by many authors, because they are like the big fish leading the way in the ocean. Among the many psychology books I've read, the book I want to share in today's video is also considered a big fish. This book is titled Thinking Fast and Slow by Daniel Kahneman, who won the Nobel Prize in Economics in 2002, and is also the first psychologist to win the Nobel Prize in Economics since the Nobel Prize was established. The 2017 Nobel Prize in Economics winner, Richard Thaler, is also his student. They both research the same topic, irrationality. I've read this book for a long time, but because it is so academic and in-depth, I've never thought of sharing it through a video on the channel before. But to get a comprehensive view of human thinking and nature, I think introducing this book might help you understand yourself and the people around you better. We should not only stop at books that are practical or instrumental, but also read in-depth books to learn about principles, which is extremely important. Although these books will not provide you with a tool to solve problems and change your life immediately, they will give you great wisdom. If possible, it can make you a breakthrough person, cognitive biases, and improve your judgment and decision-making skills. Have you often heard the saying, "Follow your gut"? This may sound like a good idea, and it's true that you can solve problems in life by acting on your intuition. However, the countless pitfalls we've encountered in the past show us that most of the time, we rely on intuition to make decisions, which is unreliable. We are very prone to cognitive biases, prejudices, or temporary emotions, entrenched impressions that mislead and lead to erroneous judgments or decisions. Because author Daniel Kahneman has shown that in most cases, we often lack rationality. So how can we avoid cognitive biases in decision-making? How can we understand the irrationality of human thinking? Next, I will share with you the most concise essence of the book, Thinking Fast and Slow to Understand How to Avoid. Part 1. How does the brain think? Before we delve into ways to improve our reasoning and decision-making abilities, it is crucial to understand how our brains function. The book, Thinking Fast and Slow, gets its title from the fact that we have two thinking systems in our brains, known as System 1 and System 2. System 1 operates automatically and quickly, relying on intuition and requiring minimal effort. For instance, when you see someone who is angry, their face is frowning, and you don't need to think. You can simply glance at them and make an accurate judgment about their mood. Similarly, when asked a simple question like 2 plus 6, System 1 will provide the answer without hesitation. System 2, on the other hand, demands high concentration and brain power to tackle more complex problems. When faced with a question like 48x 23, you need to pause, think carefully, and do the calculation in your head. System 2 requires more brain energy and operates at a slower pace compared to System 1. Understanding how these two thinking systems work helps us apply them effectively in our daily decision-making and problem-solving. It also helps us recognize when to use which system to achieve the best outcome. These two thinking systems may seem to operate in opposition, but in reality, they work in parallel and interact with each other. When confronted with simple matters, the fast thinking system quickly makes decisions based on experience and intuition. However, when faced with complicated issues that the fast thinking system cannot handle, the slow thinking system is activated to process it. The book points out that when intuition runs into trouble, reason steps in to resolve it. This may sound like a logical approach, but psychological experiments show that irrationality is the foundation for most of our actions. In other words, most of our decisions and actions are irrational. Why is this? It's because our brains are lazy, they don't want to focus attention and expend excessive energy. Following this inertia, our brains tend to fully accept the judgments of System 1, and ultimately, fast thinking becomes the dominant force in driving our decisions. Part 2. Cognitive biases that lead to faulty decisions. Our over-reliance on the fast thinking system can lead to a serious problem. Cognitive bias. In this article, we will introduce you to 3 types of biases and 4 typical effects in the fast-thinking system that cause cognitive biases and lead to wrong decisions. Try to see if you have these thinking habits. First, the availability bias is when we focus too much on what is obvious and ignore the potential behind it. For example, when you see someone reading a book on the subway, you might infer that they are highly educated, although that is not certain. Second, the availability bias is when we believe that an event happens more often simply because it is fresh in our minds. For example, if people hear a lot about plane crashes, they may feel anxious and avoid flying, even though the actual risk is not high. Third, the fundamental attribution error is when we like to find a cause for every outcome, whether or not it is correct. For example, if an athlete performs poorly, people may blame it on stress, bad luck, or lack of focus, all to explain the outcome, rather than accepting that he simply did not perform well. These are the 3 cognitive biases we have. Check yourself to see if you have these thinking habits so you can improve your ability to make more accurate decisions. So what are the 4 effects that lead to cognitive biases that make us make wrong decisions? 1. The anchoring bias is the tendency to rely too heavily on the first piece of information we receive when making a decision. For example, if you see a product advertised for $100 and then see the same product for sale for $50, you are more likely to buy it, even if the $50 price is still too high. 2. The confirmation bias is the tendency to seek out and favor information that confirms our existing beliefs. For example, if you believe that climate change is a hoax, you are more likely to read articles and watch videos that support this belief and ignore information that contradicts it. 3. The sunk cost fallacy is the tendency to continue investing in something, even if it is no longer a good idea, because we have already invested so much time and money into it. For example, you may continue to stay in a bad job because you have been there for so long, even if there are better opportunities available. 4. The hindsight bias is the tendency to believe that we could have predicted an event after it has happened. For example, after a terrorist attack, people often say that they should have seen it coming, even though there was no way to predict the event with certainty. These are just a few of the many cognitive biases that can influence our thinking and lead to faulty decisions. By being aware of these biases, we can take steps to avoid them and make more rational decisions. Part 3. 4 effects that lead to cognitive biases. Point 1. The halo effect. You are beautiful. You are good. Whatever you say is right. This is a very subjective statement, isn't it? It shows a great cognitive bias, but most of us are often influenced by this psychological effect. The halo effect is a common psychological phenomenon that we encounter daily. It is the phenomenon where the initial information we receive affects how we evaluate something, someone, or a situation. For example, when we see a celebrity appearing in a commercial, we tend to believe that the product is good and of high quality because it is advertised by a celebrity. However, the disadvantage of this is that we are easily blinded by our love for celebrities without rationally evaluating whether the product is really good, suitable, and necessary for ourselves. Or when we like someone, even if we don't know much about them, we will still tend to see the most positive aspects of that person, and vice versa. Love each other, love even the way they walk. Hate each other, hate even their relatives. This is why the first impression is so important. 3.2. The anchoring effect. The anchoring effect is the phenomenon where we are influenced by previous information when evaluating something. We can predict the outcome based on previously known information and take action based on that prediction. For example, when we see a product that is having a discount promotion, with the original price crossed out and the promotional price displayed, we may be influenced by the previous original price and decide to buy the product based on that information. Both of these effects show the strong influence of initial information on our decisions. To avoid being influenced by these effects, we need to be aware of and evaluate information objectively, not to be influenced by external factors such as halos or previous information. 3.3. The framing effect. The framing effect is a common phenomenon in psychology. This effect stems from the fact that people can evaluate and make different decisions about the same problem based on how the information is presented. For example, when a doctor informs a patient's family about the survival rate after surgery, the way the information is communicated can affect their feelings. If the doctor says that the survival rate is 90%, the listener will generally feel more at ease than if they hear the death rate is 10%. Then most people will listen to the first way of saying it. The survival rate of 90% will feel that the situation will be better. 3.4. The endowment effect. Also known as the endowment effect, it is another aspect of psychology that affects how we evaluate the value of an item when we own it. When we own an item, we often consider it to be more valuable than when we do not own it. This explains why businesses often apply flexible return policies to create an endowment effect and increase the chances of customers deciding to keep the product. These effects are a testament to the fact that our brains often work in inconsistent ways and affect our decisions. These are the most typical cognitive habits that show that our brains have limitations that are difficult to articulate. We always believe in what we are familiar with, but it is clear that we cannot know the extent of our ignorance, and we always overestimate our knowledge of the world. Recognizing and understanding these effects can help us avoid mistakes in everyday decisions and interactions. Part 4. How to avoid cognitive errors. We can avoid cognitive errors by not letting ourselves be fooled by illusions and biases. It seems that we often make decisions easily through thinking system 1, but this can lead to irrational decisions that can lead to accurate decisions. Therefore, Daily Betterment wants to summarize some of the following methods after you read this book. The first method is to have a clear understanding of your own thinking habits. Once you understand your thinking habits, you can adjust and improve them accordingly. The book will provide you with many psychological effects that you can learn more about to see if you have these habits. The second thing is to always remind yourself not to rely too much on thinking system 1. The best way is to think slowly and take the time to carefully consider before making a decision. The third thing is to focus on thinking system 2 in many different forms. But it has one thing in common: it requires concentration. We tend to follow system 1 because our concentration is very limited. We are easily distracted, and our minds have thousands of random thoughts every day. So that system 2 can be timely before making a better decision. We need to focus our minds to help us improve concentration. Then I have been practicing meditation and mindfulness. Trust me, this is really an effective way to help you improve your concentration and improve your life experience. Finally, pay special attention to not being hungry when making decisions. Body energy needs to be maintained to help you think clearly and make the right decisions. When the body is hungry and loses energy, thinking becomes slower and lazier. Experiments have shown that the success or failure of prisoners' parole requests depends on whether the judge has eaten or not. If the judge considers the application after eating, the pass rate is as high as 65%, which is double the average. When hungry, people are more likely to act recklessly and often follow autopilot mode. While the brain operates in System 2, it will consume a lot of energy, so let yourself have enough energy before making any important decision or judgment. In fact, the key to controlling System 1 and mobilizing System 2 is to slow down the thinking process. In addition, another particularly important point is that the author also gives us 2 suggestions to make up for the survivorship of the fast thinking system. The first suggestion is not to close yourself off when making decisions. Listen to suggestions and criticisms from others. When faced with decisions, questioning or doubting your intuition will make you feel uncomfortable. But you need to know that most of us find it easier to recognize other people's mistakes than our own, so accept other people's opinions more when making decisions. The author's second suggestion is an autopsy, which may sound a bit scary, but what it actually means is that, when we make a decision, we first assume that the event will fail. Then we should write down the reasons that may lead to this failure in a way that we understand. In this way, you can remind yourself to plan ahead so that you can improve your chances of success in your work and your decisions. The above is what I have summarized the most concisely from this book. Once again, I think we should thank the author Daniel Kahneman and the publisher of the book, Thinking Fast and Slow. Finally, remember the words in this book. Humans have 2 thinking systems, an intuitive system and a rational system. Irrationality is the basis for most of our actions. Remember this sentence to remind yourself to think slowly and focus on mobilizing the rational system before making a decision. Thank you for listening. If you find this video helpful, please share it with those who need it. Support me with a like, click the follow button, and press the notification bell to watch my latest videos every week. And if you have any feelings or thoughts you want to share, please leave them in the comments below. Goodbye, and see you in the next videos.